Should Lando Norris leave McLaren? We dive into one of our probably first nitty-gritty discussion topics. Basically, a big talking point for a lot of people. Lando Norris and what he should do moving forward with his career. There's quite a few different possibilities, different things that we can explore today, and it should be quite an interesting topic. Let's get into the reasons for Lando to stay at McLaren.
There's going to be a short segment.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with our. This is our opinions first of reasons why Lando should stay. Why don't you start, Tommy? Because I've seen a few comments. It's always Matt going first. Let's have a bit of Tom Bellingham.
I guess he is the number one golden boy at his team, which we've seen that when you get a championship-winning car, aka Max Verstappen, it's a very, very good place to be because you don't have much competition from your teammate and you can run away with a championship. Aston Martin have actually shown that you can get in that mix of top teams. I mean, since the hybrid era started, it's been Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari so far clear of everyone and no one could get anywhere near them for years and years and years. And there was always that huge chasm between 6th and 7th, wasn't there? But the fact that Aston Martin have broken into that top kind of 3 teams shows that there is hope for midfielders.
I guess, I agree with your point, Tommy, that Aston Martin have given other teams hope. It's just so difficult to swing it as a positive because I see that as a negative because McLaren should have been that team to fly into that top 3 if there was a gap. But no, positives. They have a great heritage. Yeah.
Kind of. I guess McLaren suited Lando's personality, particularly at the start. You know, he loves his streaming and he can do kind of
Not anymore.
fun things. Well, he doesn't do it anymore, but he liked that side of it. And I think McLaren was a really good fit for that. And it really suited him well.
I mean, I guess he's the team leader there, right? It is shaped around him. If the car's good, he will be the one winning races and he'll be the one winning championships. Okay. Reasons for Lando to go. It's like that SpongeBob meme with the really long list that keeps on rolling. Okay, so we've kind of mentioned Aston Martin have thrust themselves into the top 3. That's warning signs for McLaren. McLaren have gone backwards again. Now, they could turn it around. They did last year, so I'm not going to say it's a completely washed season. Lando's not going to get anywhere near the top 6. Leave now. That's not what I'm saying. But the problem is they're being showed up by other teams around them, other teams that have less budget to work with potentially as well. And they can't be starting seasons like this because it's going to make Lando start turning his head and go, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to start this season firing like Aston Martin have and really build on that, not constantly trying to work with the team to figure out what went wrong this year. It can't be good for morale for the team or for the drivers. So that's one. Other reasons include I don't actually see McLaren getting anywhere near the top 3 teams whilst Zak Brown's in charge. As much as Zak Brown is this kind of likable guy that people seem to, he's like a dad figure, him and Lando, hug at Austria podium. Realistically, he's been in charge of McLaren now. I know he's not the team principal, but he's been in charge of McLaren now for quite a long time. And how many races have they won? One. One race. They used to be a race-winning team. They used to win championships. Now McLaren are just settled in as this midfield team. I don't think it's good enough, but it really depends on what everyone at McLaren wants. Do they just want to make money? Do they just want to be this business that loads of people like, this happy-go-lucky midfield team? Surely not as a McLaren premium brand.
At the end of 2020, we were like, McLaren is the place to be. These guys are on the up. And then the year after they finished 4th, and the year after they finished 5th. And then this year, goodness knows where they're going to finish if that car is where it is. So they do seem like they're now going back down. And Lando is a fantastic talent and still hasn't won a race. It's painful because of everything that happened in Russia. And it would be criminal if he just stays at McLaren for most of his career and never gets that race win. He is not just race winning potential, he's championship winning potential. Not looking great for McLaren. I do worry about them.
Yes, we do. And so do you as well, if you're listening or watching on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you may have noticed a little prototype 1 that I'm wearing currently. Yeah, it's in the works. Don't worry. Get excited. All that good stuff. Anyway, we put a poll to you on our YouTube community. Do we think Lando should leave McLaren? Yes or no? 81% of you out of 10,000 votes said yes. That is a resounding majority vote there. So a lot of you feel the same way. 19% of you, probably McLaren fans, just love the papaya.
Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning that Lando, but he is locked in until 2025, but we know contracts can be broken.
Just look at Piastri, literally next to him as well. So let's now go through the possibilities that we didn't come up with these as much as you can kind of look at them. All of you submitted these, so we'll read them out as we go along, and we will grade them out of 10 as to how likely we think that he'll end up there at some point. So first and foremost, Mercedes. This comes in from Nathan Skilling. It won't be immediately, but Toto will be looking for him to replace Lewis when the day finally comes and Lewis hangs up his boots. I absolutely, wholeheartedly believe this. I am convinced that if Hamilton, because he said he wants to stay till his 8th, but realistically, he's not going to stay until he's 45 years old, in my opinion. I don't think Hamilton's got that much of a drive like Alonso has to stay in the sport that long. I think he'll give it 2-3 years maybe to try and secure that 8th world title. And then when that window opens up, I think Lando is absolutely set on going to Mercedes personally. I can absolutely see Lando Norris and George Russell going up against each other, and God, that is a mouth-watering prospect. So I'm going to give this, if Hamilton does retire, let's say in 2 years, I think Lando Norris will replace him. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
You can definitely see this one happening. Mercedes aren't afraid to put, well, for a start, two Brits alongside each other because they've got it currently. And yeah, you could see Lando does have ties with Mercedes anyway. I would give this one a 6 just because I think I can see other options that might be better suited, and we just don't know. I think Lewis has got another 2, maybe 3 years in it, and then goodness knows where we're going to be in 3 years' time.
Next up, Red Bull. At Sol_Bam. Horner really likes Lando, so if the opportunity presented itself, I think Red Bull would jump for it. I'm not convinced on this one. I think that, there's been reports that Lando had chats with Red Bull anyway to kind of figure out what was going on there at the time of them signing Perez. But realistically, if I'm a Formula One driver, I don't care how good I think I am, I'm not going into Max Verstappen's team. I'm just not. I don't think Lando would beat Max. It wouldn't match Lando's aspirations. He wants to be a world champion, and he would have to go into the lion's den, quite literally, and beat him in his own team after Max has been there for however many years. I just don't see this happening. 2 out of 10.
Interesting. I used to think this was going to potentially be the best place for him, and just the fact that Horner really likes him from Red Bull's side, while I think he is a good fit, realistically, how much do they want to rock the boat when they've got a car at the moment, whether they will in 2-3 years' time, we'll see. They've got a car which, with the greatest respect to Checo, there's quite a few drivers that could be in that team and pick up a solid P2 behind Max Verstappen. For me, I will go with a 4. No, I'm going to go for a 5 just because I could see it. But I think Max, even though he'd probably be like, oh yeah, it'd be great to be teammates with Lando, I think behind the scenes he'd be like, no, I don't think for a minute that Lando would beat Max over a championship.
We now move to Ferrari at Trilemma_Cap. Sainz replacement at Ferrari seems possible. Sainz isn't good enough right now. I don't particularly agree that Sainz isn't good enough right now. I think that he's on the edge of potentially questioning his performance, but he's only had 1 round in the 2023 season. I don't see Ferrari binning off Sainz in order to get Norris in the car when you actually look back to when they were McLaren teammates, and they were very evenly matched. And also, Lando and Ferrari, I think, as a personality match, just doesn't work either. So for me, it's going to be a 2 out of 10.
I completely agree with you with every point there. I'd even say it's a 1 out of 10. I just can't see it at all. I'm going to go for a 1 because it just doesn't make any sense to me. If I close my eyes and picture like Lando in all these like overalls and stuff, just Ferrari is just not him. I can't see that at all. So yeah, 1 out of 10.
Audi next at Hotcho110. I think he stays at McLaren until 2026, then joins up with Andreas Seidl at Audi alongside their German driver of choice. This one is more within the realms of possibility. For me, I think that there is still a very big chance that Lando stays at McLaren, just purely because all of these options that we've said, none of them are clear, obvious openings. It is reliant on something happening and then Lando being the driver of choice to slot into the crazy, silly season that might unfold. Realistically, Audi, there are openings for 2026. Andreas Seidl has gone there. That clearly, for me, is an option for Lando. He's worked with Andreas Seidl before. The pathway is there if he wants it. That's another risk. There is no guarantee that Audi is going to be good in 2026. I think it's a 6 out of 10 because I think there is still a possibility of this.
So yeah, I'm going to go for a 9 out of 10 for this one. I can really see this just being the perfect fit for Lando in his career. It is a risk. I think Lando would want to get in there early to kind of see the progression before 2026. And then if Audi are going to be amazing in 2026 with this whole new set of regulations, this is Formula One. You just kind of bank on a move and hope you're there in the right place at the right time, because realistically, all the grid are actually good, but the car plays such a huge, well, the biggest part by an absolute mile. Like with Audi, I think the Seidl partnership, it's got that move that I think he'd be comfortable with, and then he just prays that they do an Aston Martin and move up.
Finally, Aston Martin at Loadsy says, surely this deal that Alonso has with Aston will be his final 2 years in Formula One. If Aston keeps showing this progression and they are within the top 3 teams in Formula One for the next 2 years, maybe Aston could be a good option. British racing team with a British star driver. This one's a really good option that I hadn't really thought of until recording this podcast. But then I also think that Alonso could go until he's 57 and being literally hauled out of the cockpit. So it depends how long Lawrence Stroll, Aston Martin actually, I guess, want Alonso in the car, because I genuinely feel like if they have a really good car that is capable of winning races, you will have to drag Fernando out of that cockpit kicking and screaming. Then again, it's a massive shake-up once again, and I think Lando would go to Audi where Seidl is, then go to a completely new team with Aston that he's not particularly familiar with. Rating 4 out of 10.
Yeah, and obviously, of course, we're talking about the fact that there's a seat locked in forever as long as Lawrence Stroll is there. So it would have to be Alonso retiring, and I totally agree. Alonso will want to stay there forever because he's waited 41 years to make a good career move, and it's finally happening. Alonso, you could see him going for 3-4 years, and then you'd look at his age and go, yeah, but he'd be 44, but you could see it. So I guess for me, it's probably a 6 out of 10. It's one of those options where, yeah, I'd never really thought about it, and then when someone mentioned it, it's like, oh, actually, yeah, that's quite a good choice now.
And that is it. That is the options we think that are you think and that we think are the most viable for Lando Norris. If we've missed any out, please let us know. I'm sure you will in any comments sections that you are in. Tommy, final thoughts?
My final thoughts are kind of looking at all the options that we've given here. It's made me think in a few years' time, we're looking at Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, maybe Perez, maybe even Bottas retiring. And you could potentially have 4 massive seats available in top teams in 2026. And oh my word, that is going to be the greatest silly season of all time if they all go at the same time.
And you'll find it all on P1. That is it. Lando Norris, maybe you'll listen to this. If you have, lots of love. We hope you make the right decision. And we'll see you very soon for another podcast. Bye!
Bye!